Understanding Title II data. Today we want to talk about understanding your program data, how to prepare it, how to collect it, how to track it, and how to report it. Understanding and reporting useful and accurate data is a critical component in the solicitation and award process and can help both yourself and your program manager gain key insights on many decision-making factors, whether those factors be related to time, resources, or funding. OJJDP uses performance data to not only understand the agency's story, but also to demonstrate outcome-based results. In this training session, we will go over the revised performance measures, and we will discuss collecting and sharing information to help all of us better understand how well the Title II program is operating on the ground. To make this session as interactive as possible, please use the WebEx chat to respond to any question that you see on the screen. So for example, this question here, what is your biggest issue with collecting, tracking, and/or reporting data? Shannon is posting COVID-19. Yes, Shannon, that is certainly on all our minds. Kaylee is posting knowing exactly what needs to be tracked. Dion is posting accuracy of assessments or pre-post test. The agenda for today includes the following program overview: performance measures, collecting and tracking data and best practices, reporting data and best practices, as well as reporting in a pandemic and what to do with personally identifiable information will be presented today. Lastly, we will review key documents and resources. As we progress through the training, all website links mentioned during the training will be posted to you in chat and also provided to you in your copy of the presentation that will be emailed to you later this week. The objectives for today include understanding what the performance measure updates are for your program and understanding the need for a data collection plan for the data you collect between July 2021 and December 2021 with reporting in January of 2022. Further, you will gain understanding of the performance measure reporting due dates. Now, those due dates happen twice a year, as you already know, July 30th and January 30th. Lastly, you will understand where to find supporting resources. Now, in the showcase sessions we conducted last April, we talked about the newly updated performance measures as outlined in your solicitation or award and located at the OJJDP.ojp.gov website. This training is being presented to you to emphasize the fact that now is the time to start planning on collecting and tracking data for the July through December 2021 reporting cycle with the goal of reporting January 2022 on these newly revised measures. I'd like to pass the microphone to Eric, who will take us through the Title II program and review the performance measures with you. Eric?
Thanks, Rebecca. In the State Programs Division, we have several programs. The program we're talking about today is the Title II Formula Grants Program as part of the OJJDP State Program Division. Title II is working on the following program outcomes: state compliance with all requirements of the Title II Formula Grants Program, state compliance with 4 core requirements of the Title II Formula Grants Program, increase in improvements in operations, decrease in youth offending, increase in youth living productive lives, increase in youth held accountable. There's 3 important things to keep in mind about the Title II program. First, what are the performance measures that grantees need to report on? Title II grantees report on individual served, service delivery, training and technical assistance outputs, program outputs, training and technical assistance outcomes, prevention and intervention, program quality, youth accountability, protective lives, and victimization. The second thing to keep in mind is what is the difference, or what is different about this program, or some of the standout features that make it unique. Title II promotes effective juvenile justice systems to prevent the deinstitutionalization of status offenders, separate juvenile from adult inmates, remove juveniles from adult jails and lockups, and reduce racial and ethnic disparities. Third, who are the grant funds intended to help, such as courts, youths, and systems community? They're to assist the state and local governments in addressing juvenile crime through technical assistance, research, training, evaluation, and effective programs for preventing juvenile delinquency and improving the juvenile justice system. For core requirements to be eligible to receive a formula grant, a state must designate one agency to prepare and administer a comprehensive 3-year juvenile justice and delinquency prevention plan, establish a state advisory group appointed by the governor or another chief executive officer to provide policy direction, participate in preparing and administering the formula grants program plan, and commit to achieve and maintain compliance with the 4 core requirements of the JJDP Act. Compliance with the JJDP Act and its 4 core requirements is a complex and ongoing process of assessment, evaluation, and data gathering. The following are the 4 core requirements of the JJDP Act: deinstitutionalization of status offenders, removal of juveniles from adult jails and detention facilities, separation of juveniles from adults in secure facilities, and the reduction of disproportionate minority contact within the juvenile justice system. The framework or logic model used to write the performance measures include 4 components: inputs, activities, outputs, and outcomes. Inputs are program resources such as grant funding and award administration. Activities are actions that convert inputs to outputs and can be anything from identifying key personnel with access to crime and alcohol abuse data to establishing information sharing agreements. Outputs are products or services that are the result of activities such as trainings and meetings. Outcome measures speak to longer-term program goals. The newly updated performance measures will require changes in the way you collect data, and that's what we're here to do today, to ensure that you understand that you will be reporting on the newly updated performance measures during the December 2022 reporting period and collecting data on the newly updated performance measure from October 2021 and September 2022. The performance measures document you have made progress in accomplishing the program goals and objectives by collecting the data on grantee activities and services. Remember that regular reporting on performance measures outcomes establish your program's growth. You can find your program's performance measures at the URL found at the bottom of the slide. The OJJDP has identified and organized the newly updated performance measures to include 3 different categories. These categories include overall measures, multi-program measures, and program-specific measures. In overall measures, grantees will be asked the same overall questions in every program. This allows analysts to aggregate data across multiple programs and assist with responding to ad hoc data requests. Multi-program measures impact 3 different types of populations. The first is shared targeted populations, for example, children involved in the child welfare system or tribal youth. Secondly, those with a similar service delivery model like mental health services or prevention services. And third, those with shared outcomes, such as youth provided with defense counsel. Program-specific measures collect data that align with a specific population, funded activity, or desired result. These measures help reflect the unique outputs and outcomes for each specific program and distinguishes them from other programs. Program-specific measures also help track the progress of individual programs over time. Next, let's look at some of the performance measures for your program. We will not be able to get through all of them, but I wanted to highlight those that I thought may prompt questions over the next 6-month reporting cycle and continuing through the life of the award. The number of individuals served is one of the major overall performance measures that you will have to report for the program. Based on the type of population, such as children, youth, young adult, parent, or additional family member you will be serving, you will report numbers for each population type. You'll also indicate how many of them were carried over from the previous reporting period and how many of them were new admissions in order to avoid issues of duplication. The next overall measure is percentage of eligible individuals who completed high school. This is the number of individuals who received a diploma from a traditional school or an alternative high school or received a general education development, GED. That percentage is calculated by the number of eligible individuals who received a high school diploma or GED divided by the total number of individuals served. The next measure is the percentage of eligible individuals employed full or part-time. Now this is the number of individuals who worked full-time, which is 40 hours or more per week, or part-time, which is 20 hours or less per week. Employment includes paid employment, a paid or unpaid internship, or participation in an apprenticeship program. This percentage is calculated by number of eligible individuals employed full or part-time divided by the total number of individuals served. The next measure is the number of individuals who experienced victimization. Victimization is defined as an individual impacted by either a violent or non-violent event directly or as a witness. A subsequent victimization includes an individual who experienced a new, unrelated victimization or a new victimization similar in nature or circumstance to the first victimization. For this measure, grantees will report the number of individuals who experienced a first-time victimization and the number of individuals who experienced a subsequent victimization. Another overall measure falls under prevention and intervention outcome category. This measure is the percentage of eligible individuals detained. Detention refers to the placement of a youth in a facility under court authority at some point between the time of referral to court intake and case disposition. Detention prior to case disposition is known as a pre-dispositional detention. Detention after sentencing is post-dispositional detention. Post-dispositional detention includes awaiting placement or short-term sentencing to detention. Count individuals who received either type of detention. This percentage is calculated by the number of individuals detained of those who are eligible divided by the number of individuals eligible for detention. Next is the percentage of eligible individuals who experienced improved mental health. A mental health disorder is defined as any clinically significant behavioral or psychological syndrome characterized by the presence of distressing symptoms, impairment of functioning, or significantly increased risk of suffering, death, pain, disability, or loss of freedom. The definition does not include deviant behavior, disturbances that are essentially conflicts between the individual and society, or expected and culturally sanctioned responses to events. This percentage is calculated by number of eligible individuals who experienced improved mental health divided by the number of individuals who receive services to improve mental health. The percentage of eligible individuals served by a diversion service is an example of one of the multi-program performance measures and is categorized as a service delivery output measure. To report on this measure, you will collect data on the number of individuals who receive diversion services. Diversion services are intended to redirect youthful offenders from the juvenile justice system through services and supports as an alternative to formal processing in the juvenile justice system. Diversion from formal processing is dependent on successful completion of service requirements. The percentage of eligible individuals served by a diversion service is calculated by the number of individuals who receive diversion services divided by the total number of eligible individuals served during the period. Percentage of eligible individuals who completed their required community service hours is another multi-program performance measure and is categorized as a youth accountability output measure. To report on this measure, you will collect data on the number of individuals who are court mandated to complete community service hours and the number of individuals who completed their court mandated community service hours. The percent of eligible individuals who completed their required community service hours is calculated by the number of individuals court mandated to complete their service hours divided by the number of individuals who completed their court mandated community service. Now there are a total of 32 Title II program areas that you can find at the OJJDP website on the Formula Grants page. For the December 2021 submission period, all Title II grantees will report data on existing performance measures in the Performance Management or Performance Measurement tool and generate a PAT report. In PAT, grantees report on performance measures that are in the 32 program-specific areas, depending on program areas grantees are allocating funds to. However, in the mature JustGrants, grantees will not report any program area-specific performance measures. The only questions that grantees will report on regarding Title II program area is funds allocated per Title II program area. This is the same PMT measure that grantees are used to report on. In this measure, grantees will report on the amount of funds they allocated to each program area. Please note that your total allocated funds should not be more than your total federal fund that you got from the Title II formula grants. For example, if you got a $60,000 Title II grant, you could only allocate a total of $60,000 to any of the program areas. You cannot allocate $60,000 to each program area of your choice unless you are allocating all of your Title II grant into one program area. The definition of each 32 program areas remains the same. In the slide, we are only showing a few of the program area definitions. To know all of the performance measure definitions, refer back to your title performance measure with definition document. The next set of performance measures really emphasize the importance of primary and subgrantee collaboration. The OJJDP wants to know how the primary grantees are managing their subawards or subgrantees and how subgrantees are accomplishing their goals. These questions will be answered by the primary grantees. The first performance measure is the percentage of sub-award funding decisions made to fulfill statewide 3-year plan. A subaward or subgrants is funding given to a subrecipient to carry out part of the funded award or program. A state 3-year plan is crafted by the state advisory group to outline the state's activities over a 3-year period to prevent juvenile delinquency and improve the juvenile justice system. Primary grantees will need to identify how many subawards fulfilled the goals and activities outlined in the 3-year plan. The percentage is then calculated by the number of subawards fulfilled, a goal of the state 3-year plan, divided by the number of subawards. The second performance measure is the percentage of subawards that met the goals stated in their application. This will require subgrantees to identify how many subawards met the goals stated in their applications at the end of the award cycle. The percentage is then calculated by B divided by A, or the number of subawards that met the goals stated in their application divided by the number of subawards that ended during the reporting period. Thank you very much for your time going over these performance measures with me. I'll now turn it back over to Rebecca.
Thank you, Eric. We have a short scenario for you. We've got Brenda here, Brenda Sukup, and she's a Title II awardee. Now, I realize that the reporting cycle is December 2021, so if you think back to the planning and the collecting of data for this reporting cycle, what were some of the things that you did when you were preparing preparing for data collection. In the past, colleagues have noted things like making sure to have the performance measures and definitions. Cassandra is posting, review the measures and understand what the questions are asking. Ludmill is posting, reviewing the new performance measures. William is posting, first become familiar with performance measures webpage. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Becoming familiar with the performance measures. We'll move on. Let's talk for a moment about best practices, collecting and tracking data. Creating a data collection plan requires a good deal of pre-planning and preparation. When creating a data collection plan, best practices often include locating performance measures for your program, understanding what each question is asking, and determining the data value of the response, even if that data value is a 0, and creating a plan to identify when and how to collect data. Speaking of tools and instruments or assessment instruments, you want to plan for collecting the needed data, identifying the tool or instrument, has it been validated or used before, how accurate is this tool or instrument, we've already mentioned this in our chat, and who will be collecting the data. There are several best practices you could implement when collecting data for the upcoming reporting cycle. You want to be proactive. You want to designate staff for the coordination of the performance measure data collection process. You want to review progress reporting questionnaires before entering data. You want to ensure that designated staff participate in trainings. You want to pay attention to communication from JustGrants. And lastly, if applicable, you want to review, edit, and validate data with all of your subgrantees before reporting. Speaking of the grantee and subgrantee relationship, as mentioned by Eric, you are required to enter data on all performance measures that relate to activities described in your approved OJJDP grant application and carried out with OJJDP funding. As a grantee, you should plan to collect data on behalf of all of your subgrantees. Some things to think about as you plan to collect and track data include timelines and resources. Some questions that you consider while planning include duration and version control. Does your plan include a beginning, a middle, and an ending date? How will you manage documents over this time period? Will you track them using an Excel spreadsheet, for example? If you'd like to post in chat and tell us how you are managing your data right now, that would be great. Regarding location and access, how long are you storing the data for? Who has access to your data? And if you're storing it on a shared drive, who is being given permissions and by whom? And in regards to communicating change, how are your changes being communicated? How is the data being validated and edited if applicable? In regards to reporting data and best practices, in the December 2022 reporting cycle, you'll be reporting on the newly revised performance measures and crafting narratives. Narrative questions provide you with an opportunity to answer or address the following topics. What do the numbers you report on in your performance measures actually mean on the ground? How does your work impact your community? You want to use the narrative to walk the reader from the numeric output to the tangible outcome. And you want to use specific and detailed examples to support your points. What you see on the screen is a narrative example from the rural program. Best practices for reporting in JustGrants. Common issues arise since you are required to respond to every question. When reporting zeros, if a measure does not apply, you can enter a 0 value and then add an explanation by selecting the comments field. A brief description, such as we are still in our planning period or there was no activity during the reporting cycle, are acceptable responses in JustGrants. Avoiding duplication and count can also be challenging. Having more than one person review your data, for example, a program manager, can help ensure duplicate data does not exist in your reporting. And as you know, reporting is awards-based. When trying not to duplicate data, you want to spend down your funds and create a final report of activities you performed for the oldest award first before beginning to enter data and reporting on another award. If this is not possible, you want to prorate your quantitative data according to the amount of each award, again, for those of you with multiple awards. You want to contact JustGrants with any concerns related to any error message found in JustGrants. You can save your data and you can resume data entry at a later point in time in JustGrants. And for more information like this, you can visit the YouTube video link provided on the screen and posted in chat. As mentioned previously, some grantees may receive funding from multiple awards. The service should be reported under one program or the other. The same service cannot be reported under multiple programs. If you have difficulty tracking services for each specific award, you want to work with OJJDP program managers to identify an appropriate method for prorating all services to allocate numbers to each award. FY19 and earlier grantees will continue reporting in PMT until their grants end. FY20 and future grantees will report on the new measures in JustGrants when functionality is available. No modifications are being made to the existing measures in the PMT system since it will be sunsetting eventually. Collecting and tracking data that contains personally identifiable information should be done with consideration towards the Privacy Act of 1974 and according to guidance issued by NIST 800-122. Broadly stated, the purpose of the Privacy Act is to balance the government's need to maintain information about the individual with the rights of the individual to be protected against unwarranted invasion of privacy. In accordance with this act, you want to collect only the data you need. If you are using printed materials, you want to keep sensitive PII in locked desk drawers, file cabinets, or similar locked enclosures. And when using sensitive PII, you want to keep it in an area where access is controlled and limited to persons with an official need to know. Reporting in a pandemic. This was something also mentioned by an attendee today. You should complete progress reporting to the best of your ability and submit it before the deadline. Every progress report form includes a narrative field or multiple narrative fields where you can provide additional information about the data. Use that space to explain any incomplete or missing data. You're encouraged to use the narrative field that asks for additional information about effectiveness, for example, to describe COVID-19 related adjustments to programming and other activities not captured elsewhere on the form. If you cannot provide accurate count for numerical progress report fields because project partners do not have access to files, for example, you should leave those fields blank rather than providing an estimate. As a best practice, you want to communicate all setbacks and successes through the use of progress reports as well as with your program specialist. So how do you report on activities now that they've been shifted to online remote platforms and when you've not been able to collect detailed data on individuals served like you did in face-to-face sessions? The short answer here is to do the best you can and make very good use of those narrative fields. Next, let's discuss the various resources at your disposal and where to go for assistance. The PMT Help Desk is available to help you with any questions you may have about responding to the progress reporting questions or performance measures. You can contact the PMT Help Desk by calling the number on the screen or emailing them at ojjdp@ojp.usdoj.gov. Office hours are Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and closed on federal holidays. The PMT Help Desk returns all emails and phone calls within 24 hours. If you have any questions about the JustGrants system, for example, accessing the system, or if you receive any error message while entering data or working in the system, please call the number on the screen between 5 a.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern Time during the work week, or on the weekends and federal holidays, you can call them between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If you experience any issues with JustGrants, we strongly encourage you to reach out to JustGrants Support at justgrants.support@usdoj.gov. JustGrants Log In Information is on the screen and presented to you in chat. You can also view JustGrants performance reporting videos at the link on the screen and provided to you in chat. And these are excellent resources for you. Let's take a moment now and reflect on what was just presented to you today. First, we discussed the program-specific Title II performance measures, noting specific instances where data would need to be collected and the type of data needed. Next, we talked about best practices related to planning, collecting, tracking, and reporting on data for the December 2022 reporting cycle. An important takeaway is the fact that OJJDP understands that this process, planning, collecting, tracking, and reporting, takes time. We encourage you to work with your partners and TTA providers on this process. So, what is next? Next steps include the opportunity we all have to collect and report on data that will inform change down the road. For our part, those changes come in the form of edited performance measures. You will be receiving a fillable feedback form that you are requested to complete and return to the PMT Help Desk once you have familiarized yourself with the newly updated performance measures. There is one form per performance measure with plenty of room for narrative. Providing us with feedback on these newly revised measures gives us the information we need to understand the challenges that you may face implementing that particular measure. Collecting your feedback now informs the refresh cycle after the pilot year has occurred. For now, however, no planned changes to the performance measures are being considered, and we would request that you do not make any changes to any of the documents posted online or provided in training sessions. And that concludes today's session.